What's going on, guys? I'm SimpleSimon. This is Mark from Big City Comics.
Hi, Mark.
I said I was wearing the Superman t-shirt today.
Oh, no, I said I was wearing the Superman.
I was wearing the Superman t-shirt.
I was wearing the Superman t-shirt.
What's going on, guys? I'm SimpleSimon. This is Mark from Big City Comics.
Oh, Mark.
If you guys don't know who we are, this is what we do. We're going to be at Supanova this Sunday, and what are we going to be doing, Mark?
Giveaway! Woo! Where the wiggles feel there.
Yeah, and we're also going to be talking about comic books. So
comic books, yeah, talking about comic books and getting into comic books and all that.
Yes. Yeah, come on down and see us at 11 a.m. on the seminar stage on Sunday at Supanova this week. Say bye, Mark.
Bye, Mark!
And keep it simple.
Well, we're going to be talking all things comics. We have YouTuber SimpleSimon, and we have from Big City Comics, we have Mark. I want you to put your hands together. That's applause. Make it louder. Bring it up. Whooping, hooping, and hollering. Come on up. Welcome, Simon and Mark. Keep the cheers going. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Can you hold the mic for me? Just for
of course.
What's going on, guys?
Now
I am SimpleSimon, and this is Mark from Big City Comics. Say hi, Mark.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Mark.
That's right. That's what you do. For those, there's a few new faces today. So for those who don't know who we are, I have a YouTube channel. It's called SimpleSimon. Feel free to pull out your phones and subscribe now and hit the notification bell. And my channel focuses around nerd culture. So I like collectibles. I do convention videos, cosplay, but my main love is comic books. So today, me and Mark are going to talk about some comic books. We do a show called the Noob, Rebirth. And you know, one thing I've learnt about comic book people is they love talking about comics.
Well, you know why that is because there are no review shows. You always get reviews of movies, TV, but nothing about comics. So any chance we get, we talk about our comics that we're reading.
That's right. So I guess what the show is basically me and Mark talking about comics, just like you would if you went into your comic shop and talked to your comic shop owner. So, but I'm fairly new to comic books. So I've only been into comic books for what, nearly 3 years? So we want to talk today about getting into the hobby of comic books. Is there anyone here who is new to comic books? Cool. That's good to see.
Welcome.
That's good. So this is perfect for you guys. And if you guys already are into comic books, you'll probably just enjoy this because we are talking about comic books.
The one thing about comic books and comic book readers is that we become a community because, again, like around a water cooler or, you know, meeting up with mates, you tend to talk about what movies you've seen or what TV shows you've seen, but you never talk about what happened in the last issue of Batman or what happened in the last issue of Walking Dead or so on and so forth. So, you know, we become a community, like a closed community that we tend to talk about what we're reading. And, you know, it feels good to me anyway. I love it. I love talking about what I'm reading, what I'm collecting, what I've read last. And I'm always a month behind. So I get Simon coming in and say, "Did you read this?" "Sorry, man, I'm a month behind." Oh, I really wanted to talk about it.
All right, so I guess we'll start off with there's two types of comic book people, right, Mark?
Definitely. There's two types of comic book collectors or readers. So there's the collector who collects comics based on key issues, and there's the reader who just collects comics just to read. And of course, you can do both. So it depends how you want to approach it. If you want to approach it as an investment, you tend to become a collector more. But if you're just a reader, they tend to buy the collected editions, the volumes, the trade paperbacks we call them, and that's more the reader. Whereas the collector tends to buy the floppy single issues. But of course, you can do both. I've done both. So it depends. Everyone's different, and everyone has their way of reading and their way of collecting. You just have to find your niche, what you are willing to go, and how far you're willing to go.
Yeah. So we're going to focus on those two things, the reader and the collector. So for me, I definitely started out as a reader. I used to try to read at least 3 issues a night and things like that. And over time, I feel like I probably collect more than I read now, which is not a good thing.
Well, there's a thing called a cover buy, and Simon does a lot of cover buys.
Yeah. I like the covers. So.
Well, the cover buys cover artists have never been bigger, or artists have never been bigger than what they are now in comic books. So comic book sales are based on who does the covers as well nowadays. So it's really big.
As far as my experience, when I first started getting into comic books, I was really scared. I walked into a shop, I had no idea where to start. There's a whole wall full of comic books, there's shelves full of books, and I'm just like, where do I start? So how I started was I started collecting characters that I liked. I know Batman, so I bought a Batman book. At the time, there was a Catwoman book that came out. I wasn't a huge Catwoman fan, but I know Catwoman, so I'll read a Catwoman book.
Yeah, so most new readers, they tend to go to the characters because they've never read comics and they're not into the comic book scene. They're not really familiar with who's writing the comic book or who is drawing the comic book. So they tend to go to the characters, and that's what when a new reader comes into my store, that's what I tell them. Who do you like reading? Have you seen the Marvel movies? Have you seen the DC movies? What interests you? And then once I sort of like zero in on what they're into, I tend to point them in that right direction. But I also point out that there are other books other than superhero books that are huge at the moment now. The indie side or independent side of comic books, indie superheroes, genre books as well. So not everyone reads comic books, superhero books.
Yeah, so I definitely jumped into the superhero side of things. I just thought that's a good place to start. And over time now, I probably prefer indie books more, just because when I go into comic books, there's 80 years of Batman history.
Unless there's Batman, then
I like Batman.
He's all over it.
I haven't read all the history of Batman, so there's 80 years worth of stories that I don't know about. So now when I read an independent book, which is maybe a little bit more genre-based, like sci-fi or anything like that, it's just, I start from the beginning, and it makes it really easy for me to start.
Yeah, and that's why the reason why, if you notice in the comic book industry, with the big two, which are Marvel or DC, they have a lot of number ones. There's the number one from 2000, Captain America number one from 2003, or Spider-Man number one from 2015, or so on and so forth. So the reason they do that is so they can get the new reader to jump on. It's usually when they do start from number one, it's because they have changed the artist or they've changed the writer. So so they want you to jump on at that point. And that's why they do the always number one. So Marvel's got so many number ones, DC have got so many number ones, whereas the genre books, the image books or the boom books, they tend to do little short stories, like 6-issue mini-series where you can do little stories, 6, and then if it's popular, they'll come out with another 6 issues in another series, So the indie books have always got that in mind, where they know that they haven't got the big history, 80 years of history of superheroes, so they tend to try and hit the genre really much more harder.
You bring up a good point. So first issues, right? So again, when I walked into a comic shop for the first time, there's all these books. I'm like, I'd love to read a Superman book or Detective Comics. Let's use that as an example. I want to read Detective Comics. They're up to issue 1,000 something. But how do you have to start from the start when it comes to a comic book? Do you have to start from issue 1? Because in my head, I always was like, I need to start at issue 1, right? I want to know what happened before all this stuff. Take on that.
You don't really have to start from issue 1, of course. That would be like very expensive. That's one thing. But it is. As a kid, what I did, I zeroed in on a story arc, on a character, which was Robin. I really dove into Robin. But as I kept on reading from the Tim Drake story arc, I wanted to know more beforehand. So I then slowly throughout my comic book collecting and reading career, I went backwards slowly. Collected all the back issues and so on and so forth.
You used a key word there, right? So for people who are new to comics, story arcs. So that's a good jumping on point. So story arcs are normally 5-6 issues.
Correct.
And they can be collected in trade. So trade paperbacks are the books that you're going to see on the shelf.
And they'll be for the readers. Whoever wants to read a good story arc, I always point them into a story arc first of all, and then not everyone likes comic books. Not everyone can read comic books, because some people just don't understand the whole paneling and so on and so forth. So it's a good place to start,
I would say, to be honest, I think it's the best place to start. It's not where I started. I jumped straight into floppies. So floppies are the single issues. And I think because of that, I haven't now gone back and read trade paperbacks and all the classics.
No, but you started with the trade. Like me, we started both with Death in the Family.
Yes, that's true. Actually,
Yeah, so we both started with the same trade when we were younger, and it is the better place to start, just to see how, if you like reading comics, so on and so forth.
So I think something that I find with a lot of people who have been into comics for a long time is they stop chasing characters because they prefer story. So they start going after the writers that they like.
Well, I'm the same. I've got an unbroken run of Batman from when I was from 1985 onwards, to now. But
You stopped reading Batman.
I did. I stopped reading Batman because I'm an older collector and older reader, and
He's been around since the golden age.
Yeah, I'm a bit ancient, but the thing is that the storylines, they tend to cycle around, same stories every 4 years, and so I was done with that. I said, I'm going to cut it off at Batman 100 of the current series, and so I'm going to hit a little bit more of the indie books and a lot more of the maxi series, that they do, 12-issue arcs, and I'm much more happier reading it. I mean, Batman is all good and great, and but now it's more of a franchise to me. I look at it and I just see it as a franchise.
By the way, have you moved on to Nightwing? Have you chatted to Tom Taylor yesterday in his panel about that?
Yes, Nightwing is doing very well at the moment, and I'm loving it. Anything Tom Taylor writes is amazing. So just while we're on that topic, we do have some giveaways today, and each little pack does have a Tom Taylor book. Actually, not every pack, but most packs have a Tom Taylor book in there, or a Nicholas Scott book.
Just quickly, about Tom Taylor, what I love about Tom Taylor is that it's like he researches his characters, and he knows the character that he's writing, which is really, really good to read. Because some writers, they just plopped onto a character and they don't really know who they're writing.
But yeah, Tom Taylor is here today, so make sure you guys go meet him because he's a really nice guy. Get some stuff signed. He's really good. But yes, Tom Taylor is amazing, and Nightwing is doing very well. Who are some of your favourite writers, Mark, that you would recommend to people?
Obviously, there's the classics. So I recommend modern day writer. I would recommend Tom King. But I would recommend Tom King in a way, his early stuff. His indie stuff that he's done, which is really, really good.
So many comic book people just shook their head at you. Tom King, wow. What a pick.
Brian Michael Bendis, when he was writing for Marvel, all his Avengers stuff is good. Brian Michael Bendis is the creator who created Miles Morales and the Ultimate Universe, and really good creator. Created a lot for the Avengers.
What about some indie books? Like if there's an indie book, some indie titles that you recommend?
Robert Kirkman, definitely Robert Kirkman. The guy's a visionary. He writes books and stories before their time. He's just a visionary.
And what's he most known for?
Of course, Walking Dead. We've all heard The Walking Dead, whether we've watched the show or read the book, it's Walking Dead.
I just forgot that I actually didn't put in my notes there. We didn't talk about digital. So as far as readers go, you might not want to buy physical copies.
No, I mean, digital is good. Digital is not a bad way to go, especially if you just want to read. Or like for my instance, I have digital comics, but the reason I have digital comics is I've got comic books that are sealed that I want to read, but I don't want to unseal them and read them. So I have them digitally. So if I want to read it, it's right there for me, And storage is another factor as well. Storing comics is a big factor. So you've got to be able to know how to store them if you want to store them properly. And space, definitely space.
Yeah, so I'm definitely running out of storage. If you come to my room right now, my house, I have to step over boxes to get to my kitchen.
So so another writer I could probably recommend would be Frank Miller. He would be a great writer. His classic stuff, like his Daredevil stuff, is amazing, but also, of course, his Batman stuff. So every writer is different. You just got to find your character. And if someone came in and said, I want to read Daredevil, I want to read Harley Quinn, or I want to read Captain America, I know exactly where to point them.
Yeah, with Frank Miller, another tie-in to the rest of things is if you're a fan of Zack Snyder is a fan of Frank Miller, so obviously 300 and onwards has really influenced him. So if you've just seen the movies, go back to the source.
Definitely. Frank Miller is another visionary. He was another visionary. So there's all these famous people who created comics, but also they're the basis for the movies as well. As a comic book shop owner, I have certain books on my shelves that I absolutely have to have.
Your go-to recommendations, right?
Of course, and that's all the classics. Your Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, and Daredevil, Born Again, and stuff like that. You have to have, and they're the ones that you push on people to get them started if they want to read a character.
So I guess something, and I swear to God he didn't pay me to say this, but Mark's very good at talking to you and recommending comic books. So if you are new and you're a little bit unsure, Big City Comics is definitely the place to be, because he will literally approach you, ask you what you like. You might not like superheroes. He's going to have a book to recommend you for any genre.
Yeah, because I try to read everything that comes through the store or gets released, whether that's one issue or 2 issues of the series, or I read them digitally or whatever. I always make it an effort to read it, always.
All right, so let's move on from the reader. Let's talk about collecting, all right? Because I definitely have become a massive collector now. I buy books, they sit there, I don't read them. I just bought it for the cover. Maybe I bought it because it was a first appearance of a character. So I guess, what's the main thing most people would collect?
So collecting has changed a lot throughout the years. So collecting now has become like the stock market. A book would come out on the day of release. It would, because they introduce a new character or a new artist or a special guest artist is on it, or whatever it may be, the price on day release would skyrocket. Right? It would disappear from the shelves so quickly, And
you're buying it for 3 times the shelf price the week it's come out.
Yeah, but not everyone does that. But
yeah, no, not everyone does.
No, but so it's like the stock market, where this week it could be worth $100, whereas a month from now the price will drop to. So a good example is White Vision. Everyone has seen WandaVision. So the White Vision appearance in the first appearance of White Vision in the comic book was, I can't remember the issue number.
West Coast Avengers.
West Coast Avengers. So as soon as he hit the TV screen, West Coast Avengers went from the dollar box, which was a 50-cent box, to about $150 in the span of like that, until he makes his next appearance in a movie or another show. So it's like the stock market, but it all comes down to supply and demand. And so the modern day comics, it's all about supply and demand. These days, back when I was collecting, there was no such thing as a second print. It was all first printing. Now they have a thing called second print, where if it sells out of the first print, and I have no doubt they do it on purpose. It's not a hard thing to do, because it's the way the companies make money off that one issue. Because they can't, once they sell it off to me, and then I sell it to the customer, they have no control over it. So they can print 1 million of them, but they can't, after that, they have no control over it. So to make more money off that issue, they do a second print. But they do a limited print, and that makes it worth more money. Then they do a third print. That's less print quantity, that becomes worth money as well. So it's all about supply and demand. The more demand, the less supply. It's very, some people are really good at it, and some people take advantage of that. Some people, that everyone has to, what do I always say?
Everyone has to run their business their own way.
That's right. So it's always, and sometimes it hurts the reader, who wants that issue, who needs that issue, but misses out on that issue.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like a snake eating itself.
So, as far as investing goes, I don't want to talk too much about it because investing is not really a part of my YouTube channel, but there's a lot of great YouTube channels out there. If you want to, if you're interested in comic book investing, just type in comic book spec into YouTube, and there's plenty of great stuff. So what I want to
explain what spec is.
Spec, so speculation. So a lot of people will talk about books that are going to be hyped up because maybe there's been an announcement that there's going to be a movie, announcement that this character is going to appear in this new show. All of a sudden, like you said with the White Vision, a $1 book is going to skyrocket to 50, 10 times the price, whatever it be.
But like the stock market, there are pitfalls. Someone on YouTube, just because someone on YouTube says this book is worth $100 doesn't mean it is worth $100. He might have a book. He might have like 1 million followers, and then everything he says people believe. So he takes advantage of that too. So he might have a book that he's had for years that he can't sell. So all of a sudden he says, "Oh, this book is worth this much because of this," and then people go out and they go look for it, and so on and so forth. So you've got to be careful of the pitfalls of that as well.
Yeah, there's a perfect example. I know a YouTuber who started an online speculation about a book that meant nothing to no one. It was called Yarn Man.
As an example?
Exactly, and so many people started just like jumping on board, and it was a gag. They were just mucking around. But so many people started talking about this book on YouTube. It got to the point that it got mentioned on Comic Tom's podcast, he's quite a big comic YouTuber, saying he's like, why is this book spiking so much? It's because all these little other smaller YouTubers were like hyping this book. So. But what I wanted to focus on was a lot of shops, what they'll do is they sell out, and all of a sudden that book, you've got to pay 3-4 times the price for that book because there's speculation on it. The best way to secure those books and buy them off the shelf is to have a standing order at a shop. So you want to visit your local comic shops, you want to let them know, I want to place an order for this, and still some shops won't give it to you, but come down to Big City Comics and they will.
Oh, come on, man, come on.
No.
It's not advertising.
Give me $10 to say that.
No.
No, but explain a standing order and I guess what you recommend for people to do.
And standing order it's in my case, everyone has to run their business differently, but it's not advertising. So a standing order is a list of books, comic books that you want to put on order every month. Like so say for instance you have Captain America on a standing order. So a Captain America book comes out every month. And so you want that book held for you every month. You're guaranteed to have that book waiting for you when you go into the store. The advantage of that for the reader is that you don't have to go to 5 comic book shops looking for that book because it's sold out, right? Whereas you know that it's waiting for you. That's the advantage of having a standing order. From a store owner point of view, the advantage is that customer is going to come in and buy that book. So it's you and my advantage to hold it for him. That's the standing order is always going to be your best bet to securing that issue that you want.
Definitely works, because when I first met you, I started coming in weekly, and I'd go to all the shops. I'd go to a lot of different shops back then, and you always tried to convince me, hey, you should do a standing order. And I was like, I like doing it the way I do it, man.
Some people have commitment issues.
But then I found that there would be some weeks where I'm like, oh, can I get this book? He's like, I'm sold out. I cannot supply it. And that's when I was like, all right, I'll do a standing order with you.
It always makes a big difference. Because I personally feel guilty sometimes when a person doesn't get their comic book that they wanted. I mean, I did when I was collecting. I got disappointed myself. I said, damn, I should have ordered that.
Yeah.
So whether you're collecting or reading, it's nothing like the hunt. We didn't speak about the hunt. When you're hunting for your book, it's I always offer a service. If you want, I can go hunting for your back issues as a part of the service. But most of that offer always gets thrown in my face because I love the hunt. I want to hunt. It's part of the joys of collecting. And 100%, I agree with that. Should always experience the hunt. Am I right?
You never offered me to hunt any books. Can you hunt down the first Harlequin for me?
I know how much you love it.
Yeah, no, I do. I definitely like finding some bargains, but it's hard to find them. Actually, places like Supanova are actually quite a good place to find key books too. Yesterday, going through some bins, I found some stuff. I was like, oh, I'm watching all of this stuff on eBay, and it's actually a lot cheaper here than it is on eBay. So, one thing I noticed is a lot of people like superheroes, right? You come to these conventions,
Yep.
there's cosplayers everywhere, you see Superman, you see Batman, but a lot of those people don't actually read comics. I feel like we need to,
But it's
comics a bigger stage,
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I like having my small little community of comic book readers, but the thing is too, because of the MCU and the all the movies, the superhero movies, they're basically putting comic book stores on the map more than anything ever before. They've become, now they're absolutely cemented into popular culture. Comic books have always been in popular culture, but they've always been underground. I have been, collecting comics since I was 14, and I know when people would ask me, what do you read? They say, oh, you read? Yeah, I read. What do you read? I read comic books. Just make sure that no one's nearby, because you get labelled, and you get bullied, and so that was my life when I was 14. But now
It's cool to be nerdy.
it's cool to be nerdy. It's cool to be a geek, and it's an amazing feeling all of a sudden. And that's what the comic book movies do. They give us a voice. They give us our own community. At the end of the day, it's the popular culture of the superhero genre. And now, as you can see, you can see they're starting to move on from the superhero TV show, the superhero movie. They're moving into the indie part of it, all the indie books. Anyone who's read an Image, from the Image comic book company, they're all written like TV shows. All of them, and most of them they become optioned. And once the rumour gets leaked that they're being optioned, the price goes up.
There literally wouldn't be a Supanova without comic books, and there literally wouldn't be most of the movies that are around without those.
Correct.
Just so you know, it's 20 minutes as well.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe we'll do some giveaways, yeah, Mark?
Yep, let's do some giveaways.
All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, this is how we're going to do it. We're kind of winging it here. We haven't practiced this, right? So, can I hands up for anyone who, again, is new to comic books? Anyone here? Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's more than I thought. Okay, so this is how we're going to do it. Can I get you guys to stand up? Oh, wait, do you guys all have phones, though?
Or a phone you can use. You can borrow it from someone, I'm sure.
Okay, because you're going to need your phone for this one.
This is going to be speed. Hopefully you have a good connection.
Okay. Firstly, what you got to do is you got to open your YouTube app. See what I'm doing here?
You can see where this is going.
Yes, all right. So firstly, you need to go to YouTube, head to my channel. It's SimpleSimon, one word.
That's the
And
logo.
just look for that big fat head with the red and black hair. I just realised I'm going to need my phone to do this, so I'm going to have to stop this Instagram live.
Oh, can someone else look it up?
Actually, yeah, can you do that?
That's all right.
Put your hand up maybe once you've done that, once you've subscribed. Beautiful, I appreciate it. Okay, so
You're a shocker. Come on, man.
Shameless.
I'm trying to grow my brand here. What are you talking about? That's what this is about, mate. And big city. I told him to go down to big city and visit you, didn't I?
Yeah, all right.
I'm going to do it. So, me and Mark, our show is called The Noob Rebirth, right? The Noob Rebirth. Keep that in mind. So, you sub to my channel. That's good, thank you. And so, I want you to quickly go to the most recent episode of the Noob Rebirth and comment #HiMark.
Ready? Go, go, go.
Let's do
It's
it.
a race. Here we go.
All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then say the two down the back. Are you guys no go?
No, couldn't log in.
One, you know what? 6 people is actually kind of perfect. All right, you know what? We're just going to go with you 4 plus you 2 at the back.
Yep.
We have a, I guess, grand prize for one person, which Mark's put together. I've got some stuff in there for you too. And then we've got 5 mini comic book packs for you. So you're all going to be going home with some comic books. And each pack has at least a book either by Tom Taylor or by Nicholas Scott, who are both here. So you guys can go get the comic book signed afterwards by the writers and the artists. All right?
So if you were listening to the first part of this, you'll know that will increase the value of what you have.
Yes, and then you can go sell it on eBay for $500, and then you can thank me for it. All right, you know what? We're just going to run with U6. Now, Mark, how are we going to decide the grand prize? I didn't actually think this through.
Should we do it in order of who signed up first?
Yeah, who
or-
signed in first? Melissa? Okay, we're going to give Melissa the grand prize.
Melissa's going to get the grand prize.
Yeah? Okay. So, would you like to grab
Yeah, come on
So
down.
the box at the back there,
Squeeze through just
big
so
box?
it's COVID safe. You'll be the only one touching it. Grab
Yep.
the big box, the whole thing. That's it.
that is all yours. There
Lift that
is-
up over your head. Oh, no, don't. Maybe not. It's quite
There
heavy.
is,
Who knows? Everyone, give a huge round of applause. Do you want to ask any questions? Like how long
Yeah,
you've
do you
been
have any
doing
questions for us?
comics, things like that? Any questions for them?
Yeah, what made you start the, what was it, the Noob Comics show together? Like, how did you guys interact? Was like your first point of introduction into comics, or how
So I started my YouTube channel because I
Keep it short, mate, keep it short.
because I just got into comic books. And it started off with just myself talking about comic books in front of the camera.
Keep
And
it G-rated.
he offered me that he said, you can use my store if you'd like. And to be honest, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, so when he came into I used to be in Fitzroy, and so I used to be in Fitzroy, now I'm in West Footscray, but,
It's a little bit further away.
yep, so, and so he used to come to my Fitzroy store, and then when I moved to West Footscray, that's when he saw like, you know, maybe I could use this store. Hey, do you reckon we can do a YouTube
I
thing
didn't
together?
ask you, you offered me.
Did I offer you?
You offered me. He's old, don't worry, he forgets.
I'm old, yeah, okay.
Right, so, yeah, that's how it started. Basically, he offered me the option, and it literally has been the greatest thing to be able to use his shop for video. So make sure you check it out, Melissa, and enjoy your stuff here. There's some pop vinyls in there, there's some hardcover books. So there's a book in there, it's got a picture of Wonder Woman on it. That's the Tom Taylor book that's in there, so you can go get him to sign it straight away, okay?
And there's a $50 gift voucher.
Oh yeah, there's also a $50 gift voucher for Big City Comics. Sorry, I forgot.
Do you live anywhere near Footscray, West Side?
no? But I have a car, so I can.
That's good. West
There you
is
go.
best.
So come visit
Head that
Mark
way.
and he'll give you some recommendations.
Cheers.
What's your name, bud? Pat. Come on, mate.
on,
If you want to grab just one of the packs there.
Yeah, there's inside that box. There's some packs within it.
So I often find it very difficult, like there's so many options and we've talked about like how to choose between them, but when, you're really stuck on like trying to finish a series but there's just so many other series screaming at you, do you usually stay on that one or do you try to go between them?
Well, it really comes down to what type of personality you are. If you definitely want to finish before you start something else, say you're reading a series and you're not really liking it, then yeah, I would finish it, but that's me. But you know, the world's not gonna blow up if you don't like it and you don't want to finish it. If you don't think it, because you know, we're all time poor. And you know, I always say
Time for right now, Mark, so make it quick.
All right, so my time is precious to me. So when I read, I want to read something good. So if I read something and it's bad, then I'm going to stop reading it.
I find it much easier so when I buy single issues, I like when it builds up, so I've got 5 issues in a row to read. I like reading it that way, because when I try to read them as they come out month by month, you forget all the stories. So yeah, for me, look, everyone does it differently, but for me, I actually like to let them build up. But it's hard to read a complete run. You kind of have to mix it up a little bit, unless you're really focused. Like I know someone like Sarah over here, I know she read an entire series of Deadly Class in like a week. I've been reading that for 2 years.
It's like 45 issues.
45 issues. So it depends how quick you read too. I take a long time to read.
Yeah, and so I read an order of release. So it all comes down to how you're comfortable, your lifestyle. Everything's about lifestyle these days. So it's how you like to read. I used to read like Simon.
He's done. So just have a look at the pack.
Yeah.
Which one's out? It's got the letters there at the top. No, you don't have to open up. So TT, so that's Tom Taylor. So you can, at the very top book will be a Tom Taylor book, so you can take that to Tom, yeah? Awesome.
Just everyone come on up. Not everyone, obviously, everyone who signed up.
Okay, so there'll be letters. So if you just want to show me the letter, I can let you guys know which book you got at the front. Does anyone else have any questions before we head out?
You don't have to be winning prizes. Yes, Sarah, come on. Oh, yes.
Hang on. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask in regard to how important do you see tie-ins to like a story arc?
Tie-ins, I always recommend you don't have to read the tie-ins. Main story arc is always going to be the main story arc. But I always tell people, read the main story arc, start the main story arc, but if you want to read more, because I'm really loving the story, then yes, get the tie-ins. But if you're new to a series and there is tie-ins, I would recommend that you start with the main story first and then decide later.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
I don't think tie-ins are important at all. I started reading them and was like, this is a waste of my time.
Sometimes they're good.
Absolutely. Yes.
Hi. What's your favourite Batman arc?
Batman arc.
Tricky.
You go first.
No, you go
That's
first.
you go first.
I went first last time.
Mate, you go first because you're going to take 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Anyone who knows me, they know that I can talk underwater. So, look, it's gonna.
I'm going to go with two. Two of my favourite Batman reads are going to be The Killing Joke, and also I really like The Court of Owls.
For me, it would be Hush. Definitely, Hush is the quintessential Batman book. It's got everything a Batman book should have. That's my favourite Batman arc.
That's good. No spoilers for any of those because it's it's fun. Anyway.
Okay, last question.
Oh,
Captain Saru.
second
Hello.
last, I think. We got
Second
one.
last, okay.
I found recently that my piles each week that I am picking up is getting bigger and bigger, and my bank account is getting smaller and smaller. Do either of you guys have any tips on how to stop cover buying?
I don't have any tips. I cover buy every week.
How can we stop? How can you stop an addiction? You know, that's a bigger question than just one panel on comics.
Just want you guys to explain how both Marvel and DC always copy each of their characters.
That's a very good question.
That's one for you, mate.
Well, they copy each other's characters, which they do, of course. And, you know, a good example is other people copy their characters. So Spawn. So when Spawn was created, he's a copy from he's definitely a copy from Batman. One element of Spawn, and then you got other elements from other comic book stores or comic book characters.
I think it's the same in any medium, like movies,
Correct.
copy other movies, TV shows. There's always remakes. It's
You can't stop that. Well, one thing the American copyright law, right, is for 100 years. You can copyright something for 100 years. Once that 100 years is over, anyone can write a Batman book. So once 100 years is reached, so we're at 80 years at the moment for Batman and Superman. Once that 100 years is reached, any publisher can publish a Batman book. It doesn't have to be DC anymore. It's the first instance of that was Conan the Barbarian. Conan reached 100 years, and now we have an indie company called Ablaze, and they are releasing Conan comic books. It is a weird rule, but it's a good rule because now other people are going to start profiteering from a character. They don't have to. I don't think they can call it Batman, but they can call it something else.
all right. You know what? I got to stop this before this guy just keeps going on for the next 100 years. Guys, if anyone hasn't subscribed to my channel, I'd really appreciate it. Check us out on the Noob Rebirth. Check out Big City Comics. Mark's always there. He's one of the friendliest guys I've ever met in a comic shop. And if you want to hang around till the end of the show, we've got some business cards. I've got some pins and stuff. So feel free to come say hi.
Do you have a stall or anything here?
No.
You're around? No. So just
no.
come and have a chat and probably bump into you. You'll probably be on the floor looking at people.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Joining the queue to get Tom Taylor and Nicholas Scott's
I'll be filming a
things.
video today as well. So come say hi. I've got some pins and cards, and I've got Big City's card as well. So thank you guys so much for coming.
Give a huge round of applause to Mark and Simon.
Thank you. Can we give me a hug? We always give hugs.
man.
COVID safe. Come on, man. Come on, man. It's my buddy. We're buddies.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Cheers.